Welcome back to the OurView podcast. On today's episode, I welcome my friend Phil Cason. Phil is a music producer and singer. He is also a two-time brain cancer survivor. Join our conversation as we discuss music and faith and how they both help get us through each day. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you were able to do this.
Thank you.
So just as a brief introduction, I will let you introduce yourself and let people know what you want them to know. But I just want to give a brief introduction to my friend Phil, who is my guest today on the podcast. And Phil is the wonderful mastermind behind my great theme music for my podcast. So I reached out to Phil. I've known Phil since we were teenagers, probably, if not before then.
Yeah.
You're very close friends with my family. We call ourselves cousins ourselves, actually. But so it's really great to have you on. And
Thank you.
yes, so I will let you introduce yourself and tell people about Phil, who you are, and what you do. Anything else you want to share?
Well, in a nutshell, right? Because my story is very long. I'm, like he said, like Art said, we're like family. I'm originally from Camden. My name is Phil Cason. I love music. I fell in love with music at a very early age. I'm a two-time cancer survivor, brain cancer. And I look at life through another perspective now that I survived cancer twice. I just see life as an oyster, I don't, like when God brings you through something, you like through different eyes, I don't, not that I was a ungrateful person, because my parents raised me to be respectful and treat people how I want to be treated. But I took life for granted, for lack of better words. But I try to live every day now as if it's, I live today like, what kind of impact do I want to leave? You know what I mean? So, right. Yeah, I love what I do. I get to wake up every day and make music and impact the world, and I want to leave impact, like, just because you're disabled, that doesn't mean you have limitations, just because you're limited doesn't mean you have limitations, you know what I mean?
Right.
You're like, you're showing that, you are running your own foundation, like, you've been doing that for years, you know what I mean?
And that's exactly what I want to show, especially through this podcast, the story of other people, and to show that, yes, although, we may live with disabilities, we are able to do, really great and amazing things. We, I think, I think that's a good place for us to, move into. You said you were a two-time brain cancer survivor.
Yeah.
And, in introducing yourself, you were saying, living life at that time, before your diagnosis was different than after your diagnosis, and, what that brought on. Can you talk about your the first time you were diagnosed with brain cancer, and
Oh
how
yeah,
old you were, and that
yeah.
kind of thing.
The first time I just turned 21. And 21, you're supposed to be living life. Like I thought I was gonna be living my best life, and
Right.
I
Before it was popular, right?
yeah, like okay. I just turned 21. My birthday's in July, so that December, I was in band rehearsal. I was becoming a solo artist at the time, and before that, prior to that, I was signed to Columbia Records, and I had sung background for Justin Timberlake and India.Arie and Common, and like I was living a life as a teenager. You know what I mean?
Yes, you were.
So,
I do remember that, hearing that.
Right. So, and in my mind, I was this grand, in my mind, I'm this, grand person that, nothing major can happen to. And
as most people are at that age, at early 20s, then
I'm a teenager.
Yeah,
I'm making all this money. I'm making more than teenagers should make.
Right.
So,
yeah.
like, I'm on cloud nine, and I turned 21. I'm balling out of control. Like, I'm like, oh, look at that $100. Hey, boom! You get 100. You get So, and I'm thinking I'm invincible. Then God goes, boop, and humbled me. You know what I mean? Like, real talk. I was in band rehearsal, jamming. And then I felt like my body was crumbling. And all I was able to get out was, Lord, please forgive me for my sins. And I just to the ground. And then when I woke up, a paramedic was over my mouth saying, well, I was saying, and I'm like, okay, what happened? Like, and he was like, keep breathing. And at that time, I had just bought a new car. So all I'm thinking is, where the hell is my car? And I said to the paramedic, and he's like, excuse me, sir, I don't understand what you're saying. I'm like, what is my car? And he's like, are you saying where the hell's my car? So fast forward, we get to the hospital. The doctor comes on, tells me, my diagnosis, and I'm like, I'm 21 and I'm gonna die, So he told me to go home and enjoy my Christmas.
Oh wow.
And then I had my first surgery on Valentine's Day of 2006.
Okay.
So I woke up out of surgery. 2 weeks later, the tumor grew back, even bigger.
2 weeks later?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So they was like, we have to go back in and dig deeper to remove the tumor. And then they had me signing all these, papers just in case I didn't make it. And they had me, calling relatives to come up and see me, because when you have surgeries, brain surgeries that close back to back, the chances are really slim of you, of it being a success. Right. So I remember Aunt Robbie and Nikki was up at the hospital. Everybody was up at the hospital. And like, we thought it was the end. So when I woke up out of that surgery, and the doctors was like, okay, this kid is special. Like, you know, like, and we was all praying before, you know, I went to the second surgery. But, you know, doctors and some doctors, most doctors believe in science. You know, that's what they've been taught, you know,
right.
To believe in medical. So when I came out of that, they started to believe in a higher power. So my oncologist at the time, Dr. Axelrod, she didn't believe in God at all. So, but over time, we made her a believer. Like, and, like, it was, and it's so amazing, like, how God can make someone believe. Like, so fast forward. One night I was in a hospital by myself watching some late night talk show. You know how the late night talk shows like Jay Leno and Letterman used to come on. We old.
Yes.
All y'all out there, we may look, you know, a little younger.
We look great 65. For our age.
We're 65.
Two old men.
Yes. So one of them shows was on, and it was like 11:48 at night, and I was sitting in my room, and I would ask God this question often. I was like, God, why me? Why me? Why we not? He was like, why not you? What makes you so special that I can't choose you to be a vessel to teach somebody else? That I'm still God. I'm still the man. Like, I can do anything. Like, I can heal you, make you look just exactly how you used to look. You know, like, cause I was, my head was swollen, gash all through it, face all disfigured. Like, he was like, why can't you just trust me like you sing about trusting me? You know, like you say you trust me. I'm putting you to the test.
Yeah.
Let's see how you do. You know, I'm gonna sit back and watch and see if you really trust me. And I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say why me? You know, you and I are different in that I've lived with my disability all my life. Yours came on, you know, you lived 21 years with, you know, being in, you know, what would be considered good health and, you know, not having any health issues. But still, you know, I know for me, I found myself asking myself, why me as well? You know, I mentioned before, as big as my family is, nobody else has anything that looks like my type of disability, or, you know, we don't have anyone that's, you know, that has a vision impairment or a hearing, you know, deaf or anything like that. And it's just like, really? Like, you know, all the people, you know, it's like, why me? But then, as you also said, it got to a point where it's like, you know, why not me? It's like, what, like you said, what makes me special? And then it's just like, you know, well, maybe I am the special one used to, you know, share my message and my story. And, you know, and now at this point, sharing the story of other people to, you know, make it more common that, you know, people with disabilities are pretty cool people and they do a lot of fun things. And, you know, we all, like, it's really true. Everybody has a story. And it's so important that, you know, these stories about people with disabilities, and specifically people of color and men of color, with disabilities to get their stories out. That's one thing that I did some research about podcasting and just different, social media types of live streaming and things like that. And I tried to, find people with disabilities that are doing podcast or live stream on a regular basis. And it's so difficult to find people of color, but more specifically men of color who are out, doing this type of work and sharing the story of other men and people of color. So I want to make sure that is, something that I do, intentionally.
I'm so proud of you for that.
Thank you, Phil. But it's really, and like I said, I've known you a long time, and I know parts of your story, and but hearing it from you, I'm sitting here in shock, actually. Like what? Like like the fact that the tumor came back 2 weeks later, and I'm like, wait, what? That's really really amazing how, as you said, how you've been used to like you said, to trust God as as you sing about, because you have sang with a lot of gospel artists and things like that, and just it's really really important to to me, and I'm sure I know to you as well, how our faith and our trust in God has gotten us through everything.
And I'm so glad we had that upbringing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think without that upbringing, we probably would have lost our minds a long time ago.
Yeah.
But since that faith was installed in us, to know to turn to God, like
right.
So
that's sometimes it feels like that's all you have.
Ooh,
like you said, being in the hospital, 11 o'clock at night, and it's just like everybody had to go home, and you're just,
like we know who else can you talk to,
Right. Yeah. Sometimes, like I said, you feel like that is the only person you have to, to rely on and can really be really real with, I think.
Transparent. Like,
yeah.
Like it's the truth. It's the whole truth. But
so what, so you were diagnosed with the brain cancer. What type of, you mentioned the, the incision marks and things on your head and your face being swollen. What types of physical changes occurred due to the cancer diagnosis, the surgeries, and things like that?
So I have I don't want to call it permanent nerve damage, because the doctor said I may wake up tomorrow morning and my arm. Okay, so so I can clearly move my arm.
Okay.
But I can't, really, do this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the mobility is not there in my arm like it used to be. I used to be right-handed. So this is my right arm. So
wow.
Yeah, I lost mobility because the tumor was sitting on my frontal lobe. And
on the left side, so that impacts the right side of your body, right?
Yeah. Your left side controls the right side of your body, and vice versa. So the second time they went in, they had to go so deep that so deep in the core that it affected my motor skills. So when I woke up, I couldn't walk, talk, do anything.
Yeah.
I had to go through occupational therapy, speech therapy, and physical therapy. And that was the pits of hell for me.
Yes.
Like know what you want to say but can't execute it. My gosh, it was like I was living in the twilight zone, like, and my sleeping pattern was like so off because when you're in the hospital, I'm sure you know, when you're in a hospital, like you have machines going off all night. So
they're coming in to check your blood pressure and your temperature, and
oh my gosh, they're coming in it seems like every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it would be like
there's no chance to sleep. They don't want you to sleep.
it was like, hello, Mr. Cason. We're just coming in to take your blood pressure. Okay. Once she leaves, hello, Mr. Cason. We're just coming to take your temperature. Why can't you the same girl that just took my blood pressure?
Couldn't you do it all at once?
Like, why can't y'all all do the same job? Like,
right?
Aren't y'all all nurses? Why don't you just carry the same stuff?
You can work a blood pressure cuff. You can work a thermometer too, can't you?
I was like, oh my god,
that is too funny.
Here's your breakfast.
Right. It was just midnight. Like, didn't have a chance to sleep. Yeah, it's really I don't miss those days and the physical therapy and everything, like you said, and the occupational therapy. And I was just having a conversation with my mom the other day. I said, I remember I had surgery on my bladder, where they did all kinds of crazy things to my bladder. And because my leg muscles don't work, I have to use my core muscles to walk. Well, I had surgery, and okay, you can sleep off the anesthesia today, but first thing the next morning, they had a physical therapist in my room, and they were like, okay, got to get up and walk. And I really, like, because I couldn't feel my stomach muscles, I couldn't walk. And they were like, lift your legs. I'm like, I'm trying. And they're like, it's not, nothing's moving. I'm like, well. So yeah, I definitely know the pains and agony of the physical and occupational therapy.
Yeah. After a while, it made me depressed because I felt like I was reliving every day over again. Like, something like COVID-19.
Yeah, and you don't feel like you're getting any ahead anywhere. You don't feel like you're getting making any progress anywhere.
Yes, like, and they would say to me, "Oh, you're making really good progress." I'm like,
"You're like where?
Like,
where? How?"
The same day over and over again.
Right, I'm doing the same thing today that I did yesterday, that I did the day before, and I had it's still a struggle for me and all that. Yeah,
I had to be on their time schedule for a shower. Waiting for somebody else to bathe you.
Yeah, it's really, and it goes back to what I had said before. It's, our experiences are different because, thankfully I have adapted to, being able to, bathe myself from, a very early age. I, was taught all of that, but through, that was through the occupational therapy and things like that. And things that my parents, taught me, but it was something that you never had to deal with until this diagnosis happened to you, and it was overnight.
Regular, and then day 2, I was
right. So it's really an
adjustment.
It's really an adjustment, and it's really a shock, and it is something that will definitely, for sure, impact your, your mental health of, of what, what really happened, and taking it all in. And then, on top of the cancer diagnosis, then you had the nerve damage, and it's just like, it's quite sure, frustrating. And it's really, very, very, frustrating at times. And I can, of course, not relate to your specific situation, but I've had surgeries that have failed. Yes. And, it's like, this is supposed to fix things. And it's just like, oh no, it didn't fix it.
But did they make it worse?
No, it did. It just never got better. So I've had 3 surgeries on my bladder. I was wearing diapers until I was 12, 13 years old or so because of my bladder constantly leaked.
Okay.
So the first surgery, it was like, oh, this is going to work. And then it was like, nope, still peeing myself.
Oh, wow.
Then it was like, okay, well, we have a new surgery and this one's going to work. And it's like, nope, still peeing myself. So,
oh, wow.
And, so having that and, having, like you said, having to relive things, and it's just like, oh gosh. And, it's like, do I even want the 3rd surgery? Because it's another surgery where I'm going to miss out on weeks and weeks of life and having fun with my family and friends. And I was a kid at the time too. So it was like summertime is when I had to have my surgeries because they didn't want me to miss a lot of school. And, so then the 3rd surgery comes and it same thing. Oh, this one's going to work. It's going to work. And, thankfully it did. And I have to catheterize through my belly button every 4 to 6 hours. But, it's, but, it's really, as you also said, the doctors believing in science and, what they know through science and how the body itself works. And just to, what I guess would be considered almost like experimental types of surgery that they were doing on me where, oh, we've done it before and it's had success with, a couple other people or a couple hundred other people. And, it should work on you because they were very similar. But then, my body was like, oh, hell no, it's not. We're not going to do this. So, it's really, and it's very, I don't even know how to explain it. It's really just frustrating at times. And when you're trying to, it's like, where you want to be at a certain point in your recovery of, after surgery and, and then your body, like I said, your body's just like, nope, we're not gonna, we're going to move at our own pace and we're going to get it together. But, and in that time, it's when you have to really, again, turn to your faith and trust that whole, trust the process of, everything is going to be okay and work out how it's supposed to work out. And I mentioned earlier in the podcast that you created the music for my the podcast, which I don't know if I effectively communicated that to you when I asked you to do it, but I wanted you to do it for sure because of you having a disability. And like, first of all, I think you're, one of the most talented people. And I do remember, I am, even though we're both old, I am a little older than you, but I do remember being a teenager and hearing like, oh yeah, well, our friend Phil, like he's, he sang background for what is it, Cry Me a River for Justin Timberlake. And I was like, wait, what? So I've always known of you to be a talented person. And and I wanted to make sure that, in telling, like I said before, in using this podcast to tell my story and the story of others, I wanted to, use someone to create something for me as someone who also has a disability because, and I showed it, I let a few people listen to it before I started using it. Yeah. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? Who did that?
I appreciate that.
Like who did that music? Like, the music is so catchy. And I remember I created a video or like a voiceover type of thing where the music was playing in the background. I sent it to 3 people and they all said the same thing. Yeah, we had to listen to it. Well, they said we had to listen to it a few times because we were too busy jamming to the music and not listening to what you were saying. I said, okay, I did too. I just wanted to ask a couple other people if they thought the same thing. They were like, yeah, you might want to, add the music in the beginning and the end, but like while you're talking, like I'm not listening to what you're saying because I'm too busy jamming to the music. And I'm like, oh, Okay, like, okay, cool. So it's a hit with everybody, and
I appreciate everybody that loves it.
yes, yes. So and that's a good segue into your music credits of, you know, working with different artists and just music in general. I know you've been singing, you know, most of your life, I'm sure, and
All of my life.
yeah. So, you know, growing up in church and,
Yeah.
you know, having that, the gospel music background and, you know, I guess, you know, what started you in music and then what kept you in music, I think is a good
What
question.
started me in music, my growing up, my parents, well, my mom listened to gospel. Uh, she would listen to like Whitney Houston and like all of that some days, but she's stuck with her gospel, like her Shepherd Caesar, her, you know, Mississippi Mass Choir,
Yes.
you know. But my dad was like Anita Baker, Smokey Robinson, James Brown. So
Okay.
I got my jazz and my, you know, soul from, you know, him.
So you got the
And
best of both worlds, and
yeah,
from
yeah. And my mom, you know, had us in church every Sunday. You know, that was a strict. It wasn't an option. You know,
right.
you
Yeah,
had.
you were going.
We was going to church.
Right, you were going.
It wasn't optional.
That's right.
Yeah, Sunday school and service. You know.
That's right.
So I just naturally had that spirit in me. You know, like and my oldest brother, he would serenade females over the phone. So at night, I would hear him singing like Boys to Men, the Girls, and Shy, and Mint Condition, and Babyface. So that's where I would get my R&B from.
Okay.
So, and he made like me, Dave, Buddy, Tim, harmonize with him constantly. Like,
oh wow.
Oh, we were the Jackson 5, and we had to have our harmonies tight at all times. Like, there were times he would be like, "Okay, I hear harmony. Here's your note. Here's your note. Here's your note." We'd be like, "What?" Yeah, like, like, woo. And we would have to fall in line. So
That's the best story ever.
Chris was crazy. He was like Joe Jackson. Like, so that's where like I learned like to pick up harmonies and melodies.
Okay.
It was through my brother, like drilling harmonies in our head.
Wow.
So from there, I remember singing at my kindergarten graduation. I don't remember what I sung, but everyone stood up.
Really?
And that's when I knew I had a gift. I was like,
damn it, this is what I'm going to do.
I was like, oh, I must be singing my ass off. Because everybody stand up. when I hit that note, the people stood up.
In kindergarten, wow.
Yeah. I hit this one note. It must have been Silent Night, or it was because it was a Christmas ceremony. And I was singing, and I hit this note, and everybody stood up. Oh, okay.
So, that's awesome. Yeah. Wow.
From then up, from then on, like I just sang,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't shut the heck up. You know,
Yeah.
so when I was 14, about to turn 15, that's when I joined Thai Tribute in GA.
Right.
And we traveled the world and tore up, you know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I did Justin Timberlake, Cry Me a River, NDRE, Common, Music, Soul Child.
Wow.
This goes on.
Yeah, it's
and like it was amazing.
yeah, it's so interesting how you said your parents, you know, you got your love of two different types of music through each of them, and it's very similar to my parents. My dad listened to everything as far as music goes. So as kids, we were singing like Pink Floyd stuff and Queen and like In Excess and Elton John and you know, we were singing everything, which you know, and then he listened to the blues, and so we you know, we had our love of blues music, just the instrumentals of music and jazz and the blues, and just my mom was into, you know, the church music, but also Anita Baker and you know, Whitney Houston, of course, back in the, you know, the 80s. And then I again, very similar parallel to your story, you know, going to church every week. You know, it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't an option. It was, you're getting up and you're going. And then that's it. That's, you know, that's how it went. But now as a 38-year-old, I can really appreciate it. You know, that having all of that, you know, the music background and also the faith background, as we mentioned before. I remember one of the things my grandmother told me whenever I would have surgery to always, she always told me to always have a song in your heart. And I remember, you know, going to her house, and my grandfather, he was actually murdered when I was young. And whenever I would stay at my grandmother's house, I always would stay in her room. And she lived down the street from our church, and every Sunday morning she would have, you know, the church services on TV that came on, the Crystal Cathedral from, you know, California and all those, but they always had hymns that they were playing and singing, and she would always walk around singing a hymn or something like that from, you know, from church. And as an adult, people are really amazed that they're, you know, because I'm young, but I like knew these hymns, and I'm like, well, like
that's all we knew was the hymns.
You know, it's like that's what I grew up with, and my grandmother always told me to have a song in my heart, you know, and that's what I always did every time I went into a surgery. You know, it would always be, you know, a Hold to God's Unchanging Hand type of song, or, you know, something really something really upbeat, but with a really good message. You know, so it's really really interesting how things we are taught, you know, when we were younger, how we hold on to them and really really stick with them, because they're really in, you know, they're really in us. So
bring the child in the way he or she should go.
Yes. Yep, that's right. And so my love of music is music has been very therapeutic for me and healing for me. I know, you know, and people who are friends of mine, they know my slight obsession with Patti LaBelle, but
yo,
I was told I am not on any list, so like I'm good. I'm still a fan. I'm a great fan. I'm still trying to get her on my podcast as well. Shout out to Miss Patti LaBelle. But the music, she's great. Hilarious. She's great. I've met her a few times, and she's great, and the people who work with her are great. They're all very kind people. They're all very kind people, and I really, I really respect all of them because I have been to a few of her shows and a few events where she is, and they always make sure that she comes over to see me. And like they always do. And they're like, hey, how you doing? How you been? And they really, her drummer, the last time I saw them last summer, and her drummer, Eric, he made sure that she came over to see me, and she ended up talking to me for, a good 10 or 15 minutes. And she's taking pictures with other people, and I'm sitting right there and in my chair. And so she's, her music specifically has really been, really healing for me. And after surgeries, or if I was having a bad day, just to hear like the certain power that she has in singing a song. And she has a voice like nobody else. Yeah, she's like the most kind human being that I think I've met outside of people that I know, my family and friends. Like, she's really really cool. And just everybody, and everybody around her is like she surrounds herself with good and kind people. Well. So,
yeah, you have to.
Music is very special, and I think my mom sings in our church, and she does gospel. Yeah, she she has 2 gospel CDs that are out, and I didn't really pick up the singing talent, and I didn't really pick up the musical talent of playing instruments or anything like that. Okay. But I definitely appreciate music and people who can create music. I think it's I think it's something special that not everybody has that talent. So so I really want to make sure I give you a shout out for the work that you're doing. And
thank you.
Are you working on anything that you can share with us right now?
I'm currently putting out my own project.
Oh, good.
I have nothing recorded yet. I'm working on the production, so
okay.
I'm trying to lock in the production, and it's sounding good.
Oh, good.
I'm excited.
Can't wait to hear it.
I never put out a project because when I was working on the project, I got sick.
Okay.
So I have nothing on iTunes. I have nothing on nothing. Yeah. So this will be my first actual project. So I'm excited.
Oh, that's great. That's really, really great.
Yeah.
This has been really fun, and I'm really looking forward to being able to, like I said, share people's stories. And I'm glad that you're on. And just the last question that I have is, what do you want people to know about those who live with disabilities?
What do I want people to know? That the sky is the limit. Don't put limits on yourself. You can achieve and be anything that you want to be. You're proof of that. I'm proof of that.
Yeah.
Disabled people rock.
Yes, we do.
Like, we are freaking great. Like, you just have to know that in your heart and believe that you are greater than your disability.
Yeah. Yeah, and it for me, and I'm sure for you as well, as we've mentioned all throughout this episode, is our faith. I know that has helped me tremendously to realize that, and also and I've mentioned it in previous episodes of the podcast, my support team is like none other. Like, the people that I
surround yourself around strong people, like-minded people.
Yes. Yeah. And those people, they keep me going.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say that, I always say we fight like an old married couple, but my cousin Blake calls me every single day.
Oh, Blake. I was
just to make
sure.
With
Blake the other day.
Blake calls me every single day, and it's just like, hey, just checking on you, haven't heard from you. I'm like, we literally just talked last night, and it's 9:00 in the morning.
Blake will be like, I ain't heard from you in months, and I'll be like, Blake, I just was at your house the other day.
Right. But it's really, it's that type of, it's those types of people who, are so important to have in your life. Yeah. And, it's just really, it's really great. Like, and because I know a lot of people, not everybody has that.
No, they don't.
Yeah. A lot of people don't have that. And, so it's really, it's really important that, that we stress, the importance of, surround yourself with people, who lift you up. And like you said, like-minded people, who can really, let you have your moments and your bad days.
Yeah.
Right.
And
yeah.
Pour into you and you pour into them.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Let you have your space when you're having a not so good day, but then also there to tell you like, all right, let's go.
All right, get your shit together.
Right. We have stuff to do. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. It's really just, that's so important, that people don't limit themselves. And oftentimes, that's what happens. We think that we can't do something, and, we might have to do something a little differently, but, it can still be done, or can't be done how other people would do it.
And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes.
Pride.
Yes, that's another.
Pride gets in the way a lot.
Yes, that's so true.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a really good one. I like that one.
Yeah, that's when I first became disabled. I wasn't used to asking people for help. I didn't know how. I was so independent, like.
Mm-hmm.
How do I ask you to bathe me? Like.
Right. Yeah.
Like, who do I ask? Once I get out of here, like,
Mm-hmm.
like.
Right. Yeah. In the hospital, it's like that's their profession. That's what they job, that's what they have to do. And yeah,
I don't want to feel like a burden, like.
Right.
So don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, that's a really it's a really good point. Even though for me, like I went to the store earlier today, and there was actually something I couldn't reach, and so I found somebody, thankfully, who was there in the store. And everybody has to be cautious because of COVID-19 and all of that. Mm-hmm. So the social distancing thing. So I was kind of and I was okay. I needed it. So it's like, hey, can you reach that for me? And it was an employee of the store, so I figured it was pretty, pretty safe. And she was, very nice. And she said, okay, like, do you need anything else in this aisle while we're here? And I'm like, no, I'm great. So that's the one thing. I love being independent, but I also know my limitations. And I'm okay with that. I know what I can't do, and I'm okay with it.
Exactly.
It takes a while to get there sometimes, but it's yes.
Yeah.
It takes a while, but
now that I've been living with being disabled for going on 15 years now. Right. So like I'm comfortable. Like I know what I can do and I know what I can't do. Like the things I can't do, I ask for help. Yeah. I don't have a problem with asking you real quick. Oh, no, I can't do this. But the things I can do, I just go in and do, So. Yeah,
it's really, it's very important to, again, surrounding yourself with the right people. And,
exactly.
Who understand our situation and, And even, if we end up in a situation like I just explained, being in a store where nobody
Yeah.
I know is around, just being comfortable enough to say, hey, I can't reach that, and I don't want to turn this whole shelf over trying to reach it. So,
because I will.
Right, because then that's a whole different situation.
And if I do, that's on you.
Right, that nobody wants to be in. So it's just like, just like you said, being comfortable enough to say, hey, I need a little assistance. Yeah. So, Phil, this has been so much fun.
I thoroughly enjoy myself.
I really, like I said, I've known you a long time, but hearing your story from you has been so eye-opening and enlightening for me, just to
I've learned some stuff about you I didn't know.
But thank you again for taking your time out to do this, and you're welcome. And we will hopefully I'll see you sometime soon, and we will we'll come up with other topics and have you back on some other time, and we can chat it up again. And but this was really fun. And
like I appreciate you so much. I had a blast.
Yes.
Tell your family I said hello.
I will, and you tell everybody I said hi, and I'll be in touch. All right.
All right.
Thanks. Have a good day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the OurView podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the OurView podcast on Anchor, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. New episodes will be released on the 15th and 30th of every month. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at OurView for Life. That's OurView, 4 LIFE. Do you want to help change the tone of conversation among your family and friends? Head over to our website for some OurView merchandise. Our website is www.our-view.com/merchandise. I thank you for listening. Have a great day and take care.